All right, guys, thanks for coming. I know this wasn't the talk you thought you were going to be seeing right now, but since we had the room, I thought I'd take a few minutes and just talk about a cloud computing meetup I've been running for about 3 years. Who else heard of John Willis, DevOps guy, personality? Yes, multiple guys. So he's actually based in Atlanta. About 5 years ago, he actually started this meetup, and before he got super popular and went off to Chef and other places, we kind of started this group. A couple times it was just me and John talking about AWS. And Atlanta does have a really big tech scene, but it's not very close-knit. You have pockets of people working, a lot of corporate IT jobs. There is kind of a smaller startup scene, but it doesn't have that same sense of community that you have in places like San Francisco or New York. So really, the meetups have been a great way to kind of get people organized around certain topics. We actually have close to 1,500 people now in the group, which is a little insane because sometimes we only have 10, 15 people show up at these events. So I thought I'd just take a few minutes, talk about, if you want to get organized, if you have, in your city, if you're looking to get a community put together, just a couple ideas and maybe some tips about what you can do if there already is some meetups, getting more involved, taking more of a leadership role in those groups. So a couple things, even 10 years-ish into this sort of cloud IT transformation, we still have people who show up at the meetings and have absolutely no idea what cloud is. A lot of people in the middle of career transitions actually wanting to get out of healthcare or doing sales or finance and wanting to get into the cloud. And so one of the really positive things that I found is getting people from all different skill levels together and just sort of opening it up and saying, what would you like to hear about? How can we help you? And I know being in the middle of this, day in, day out, you kind of get used to everybody sort of knowing all the acronyms, knowing all the high-level concepts. And there's still a ton of people who are not at that level. And so I think one of the most helpful things that we've done is we kind of go through, start out every meeting just asking everybody to introduce yourself. Say, what brought you here? What are you interested in? What challenges are you having? And it's really amazing. People show up. They want to start. They're launching apps. They're trying to lead transformation projects at their company. They're already using AWS, and maybe they want to look at another cloud. Maybe they're in the public cloud and they want to move to private or OpenStack. And so, having those discussions, we've gotten people jobs. Just sort of getting people matched up with people and projects around the community. We actually set up at Georgia Tech, has an accelerator or an incubator that they let us have some space, so it's a really great environment. I would say one major tip is find a place where people don't have to commute too far because people around Atlanta are not very willing to deal with too much traffic. We've also found that if you're looking for a space, I've run into this with other meetups, they want to know how did you get your space and how do you find a space. We've actually found a lot of resellers and channel partners around town have big spaces for training and things, and they're very willing to work with meetup groups that might want to run a project. A couple other things, don't go it alone. Have a couple other sort of people running the project. People who can step in and run a meeting if you're out of town. And I've been lucky that we've had folks that have just sort of naturally wanted to get more involved. They'll help organize things, help find speakers, and that's been really helpful because a lot of these meetups, they start out with really good intentions and then you just sort of lose energy, get distracted, and that's not really good for anyone. So I have one or two other folks helping you out to get organized. And then I guess the last thing I would touch on, there's going to be this sort of natural pull as you get more members. Other companies will want to sponsor things, they'll want to present things, and I think you can find a good balance between sort of serving your community and not getting overly commercial. So we actually have like a cloud jobs night once a year where we let all the recruiters come in and talk about jobs around Atlanta. If you want to get into the ops side or the development side, they kind of go over what different companies around the Atlanta area are doing. But other than that, we don't really let the recruiters get too involved. So just a couple quick ideas. I think we'll call it there and turn it over to our next speaker. I'm sorry?
Next one hasn't actually arrived.
Okay, I'm sorry. Can we do a quick Q&A, see if anybody has any questions? Anybody involved with a good cloud meetup around your town? Yes?
Yeah, we're well involved in open source and OpenStack meetups in Dallas.
What do you think's made them successful, if I can ask?
Involvement from the members, typically. For the open source one, for the OpenStack one, it's getting sponsored by a trainer.
Yeah.
And actually works out pretty well because what he's doing is he'll go ahead and get it
coming in
for his actual presentation for his classes.
Great.
So,
I know one problem we've had is a lot of people will show up for one meeting and then never show up again. So I don't know if I should take that personally or they get what they need and just move on. But anyone else involved in meetups, how do you think you get people to get more engaged in community events like that? Any thoughts out there?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
I have been involved in cloud for quite a while now.
Yeah.
And this is the first time I'm hearing. So
Really?
obviously there's a problem in reaching people who actually been doing it. Maybe people like me are busy doing it
Yep.
than going to meetings.
No, I think that's a big part of it. I know a couple of companies, Target has talked about how they have internal innovation summits and days where they actually do it during work hours. So I think that's a great observation. Are we minute? Keep rolling. Anyone else? So I think that's a great point. How do we get more community involvement? People we're probably from cities all over the world. Any thoughts on how you get the communities more visibility? Yeah. We haven't videotaped them much, but that's a good point. Yeah, the question was, I think if I understood you, is there a reason why they're not videotaped or uploaded online? It's something we thought about. Frankly, they haven't been big enough, and I think there's always a hesitation that it needs to be more polished and professional to justify videotaping it, but that's probably not true. I think a lot of the time, we just have great discussions that are completely open-ended. And so if anybody's thinking about doing this, I would look for some meetups in your area and offer to help, offer to present. As an organizer, it's really hard to actually get people to commit to showing up and presenting something. So I guarantee there are meetup organizers in your area that would love to have your help, would love to have you come present and help pretty much in any capacity. So it's really empowering to get up and lead a conversation about this stuff, and I think it's great from just a career and networking standpoint, as well as it just feels good to be helping the community. So I couldn't recommend it enough. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say I've gone to the Austin meetups.
Yeah.
OpenStack meetups. I think one of the big things that helps that community is there's just like a lot of big companies here.
Yeah.
We have IBM, they sponsor a bunch. The meetings actually take place in Rashiday's office. Dell organizes things all the time. So the sponsors in this area really help grow that community, grow that cyber awesome. I don't know how possible that would be in Atlanta without
Sure.
like what companies you have that are big in the cloud there, but that might be something that.
Yeah, we do have one AT&T. A lot of people might have heard of AT&T. So yeah, that's a great point. I think, again, you kind of want to walk that line of not making it too corporate, but I think it lends some legitimacy if you can find a corporate sponsor that can help donate space or resources of some sort. MailChimp is another one in the Atlanta area that hosts a bunch of meetups, so I think that's a great point. Anything you think that the Austin folks could be doing better, getting more involved or getting the community more visibility?
I don't feel like I'm not in a place to comment that, but I found it to be like really great experience every time I've gone.
Great. Yeah. Yeah, and it's always sort of bizarre to sort of like get out from behind your computer screen and actually engage with some humans that are dealing with the same problems with you, and maybe are going through some challenges that you went through, in your recent history. So, highly recommend it. If any, the San Francisco AWS meetup is, I think, a great sort of template. There are great OpenStack meetups around that you can sort of clone and copy if you're looking for a model. But again, I would just say get involved. Look for, if you don't want to do Meetup, there's other user groups all over the place. But I think it's been a really rewarding experience. How are we doing on time?
That's all you, Lord.
I think they're probably getting bored of hearing me talk. But any other thoughts, real quick? I mean, as cloud computing gets more pervasive, I think outreach is a big thing that we as a community could be doing a better job of. The end users, the cloud consumers, I think get lost in the conversation a lot of the time with the focus on operators and people actually building the infrastructure. So I guess just as a quick takeaway for the OpenStack community in general, I think really reaching out and helping the people who are on the other side of that OpenStack implementation have a better onboarding experience, using the consumer sides of the APIs, actually working to make their applications run well on OpenStack environments. I think it's something that we could all be doing better. And if you look at how much traction AWS has had, and when you think about all of that is really just on the tenant side, they have a whole reInvent conference. Again, the whole thing is helping end users have a better experience on AWS. I think that's something that we as a community could be doing better in the OpenStack side of things. So with that, I think I'll call it a wrap. And guys, thanks for letting me ad lib here in front of the camera.